You are now watching the Counterpress podcast, Conversations That Count, and you're here with Nkwazi Nomia and Talia Swatboy. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave us a little something in the comments. So, we've touched obviously what's happening in July, but I think, just keeping the theme of Youth Month, and, what has happened in the course of June. We did see quite a few youth tournaments and youth leagues being played, and just to look at one of the bigger ones is your VW Vaya Cup, and that was earlier in June from the 6th to the 8th. Yeah, it's an under 16 tournament, and basically what the purpose, VW's purpose rather, let me say, is driving people forward, and with this youth tournament, the initiative is to, add to the development of young people through football. And, in that tournament, although the teams adopt a particular franchise or dealership rather, let me say, we saw Menlyn, VW Menlyn take on VW Mhlanga in the finals, right?
And who are those teams, if I may ask? Because I've never heard them before.
No, true. So you're probably thinking, Mhlanga
is in Durban,
exactly. But it doesn't mean the team has to be from the specific area or in and around that dealership. It just is which dealership is wanting to make their contribution to.
Or is it like sponsor?
Yes, football. So then they come on board, they sponsor the team, and then the team carries that name, right? So like we said in the final, Menlyn
and Mhlanga.
So let's do this. When you think of your Pirates Cup, when you think of your Engen Cup, there's a few teams, teams that always come
over and over.
So you take a guess.
I'm sure Sundowns is one of them. I'm sure JVW is one of them. I'm sure
don't go too far.
Oh, okay.
Don't go too far. Sundowns was JVW.
Which one was JVW? Which one was Sundowns?
So Sundowns was sponsored by the Menlyn franchise.
Okay.
And JVW Mhlanga.
Let me guess, Sundowns took the cup.
That's it.
It's not from the roots. They're always dominating. We should just call them the dominating team.
No, man. But even in that, Sundowns ended up lifting that Vaya Cup, the VW Vaya Cup. But two notable, I think, mentions. Yeah, of course, that too, and very instrumental at the youth level as well. But even in saying that, yes, Sundowns won, but then you look at the individual awards or the notable mentions, and the player of the tournament was from JVW.
And goalkeeper also.
Yeah, Bonhle Kanye, many know her as Shorty.
And
the goalkeeper Sam. Yeah, also from JVW. So even though, again, it attests to that level of football. Whether it is at the highest level, what we've just spoken about, or is at the junior level, it's the same two recurring teams. And even though, sometimes Sundowns do go on and lift that title, we do see, the individual exactly from JVW, but still a great team, both sides nonetheless. And then, like we said, you see your other tournaments, Engen, for instance.
Engen, we also had Engen this year. They've been around for a while actually, but they only introduced women not so long ago. So we see JVW is in the Engen, like we said previously. Sundowns is there, UJ. There's a whole lot of teams. Tugs, Kempton Park, Falcons.
Yeah, they just recently qualified in the qualifiers they're having now in June, because obviously I think how the tournament works is that they take, I guess, your top performing teams or whatever round, I guess, that you were knocked out, probably quarterfinalists in the tournament, and then the remaining teams have to qualify to get into the tournament.
Engen is like that tournament that identifies talent, and they push youth forward and stuff like that. And we saw that UJ actually took it this time around.
What is that? The Engen? Last year? No, you're thinking 22, 23.
Oh, it's 23. Sundown. Again. What did we say?
Okay.
Lunch bar.
Okay. Moving
Moving
on. Primary school football, or let's call it youth football at a younger age.
Yeah.
We see the JPFSA,
Festival.
and that is your Johannesburg primary schools. They recently also held on 14th of June. They held that football festival, and basically, again, it's just that developmental pathways for players, more so of like a provincial tournament, because in August they're going to play the Fran Hilton tournament. So it's about, nice. Taking from the league, they identify players. These players go on, play a festival, and, you making that pool a little bit smaller, but taking ultimately the best players to go and represent Gauteng. Yeah, so we saw that as well. And then
we see GWSL, which is the Gauteng Women's Soccer League. They host this tournament annually. They're inviting 32 teams, and even though it's not focusing on the youth only, they're inviting teams from anywhere, any group, any age group. You can see teams from Hollywood Bets, Sasol League, everyone is invited.
So the competition there
is high. It's high level competitions. And I recently saw that they partnered with Phoenix Elite SA. Did you see anything around that?
Yeah, no, I did on Super Sports Schools. On Super Sports Schools app, I did see that they partnered with Phoenix Elite SA, and in that article, the co-founder Melissa Saul mentioned that this partnership was in talks for a while, and it was only a matter of time. And with that, she also added that both organizations share common values and purpose. Yeah, in terms of creating awareness and visibility for
teams that disadvantaged.
Yeah, disadvantaged teams, disadvantaged players, or maybe those that are just merely overlooked. And in every sort of environment, I think you'll always have that group that is overlooked. And then, she also spoke about the infrastructure, team and talent identification, and then just the
commercial exposure of the teams.
Yeah, and the commercial visibility. But I think what stood out to me in that article was that she also mentioned, they looking, as Phoenix Elite SA, are looking to support these players and teams beyond, just on the field. And they'll be also incorporating initiatives that service the women off the field as well. And further in that article, she also mentioned that Phoenix Elite is a new kid on the block. But I think, in saying that, they might be a new organization, but I think, their team is made up of experienced allies in women's football.
Yeah.
And with that, it's so funny how this works, because, in the last episode, we spoke about sponsors and corporates.
Helping. And now it's happening.
Exactly. And
Look
not
at
just
what we do here.
Not just coming in and saying I'm sponsoring, but actually meeting and bridging the gap of the need of these players. So in that, I did a little research on Phoenix Elite SA, and funny enough, they going to be hosting their own first inaugural tournament later this year in October. And with that tournament, the co-founder Melissa Saul did mention that it's going to serve two purposes. The first would be the talent identification, and supporting the player through the various different player pathways, because
not everyone needs the same thing,
Exactly, which is very interesting. Hold on, I'm coming. It's like I said, many people come and we're on board, we wanna. But I think
when it's time to action.
Exactly. But I think, like I say, experienced allies, I think this team has sat and really looked at what is the need, and again, at those various different levels. And as you've mentioned, not every club and player and team has the same need, So with that, like I say, their first purpose is that talent identification. But then also they've put focus on club identification and sponsorship for the clubs, because ultimately what they've communicated is that the clubs are the housing.
The houses of, of these players.
Of these-
They groom them, and we see players playing in the highest level, but we never look at where they come
Sure.
from, because not everyone comes from a well-organized team who
Or
has
development
everything,
structures.
development structures. So this is basically going to be very interesting to see how they come and change the narrative around the overlooked clubs.
Yeah.
And actually help them to better them for the future and stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. And then just to wrap up, with this youth month segment, I'm personally looking forward to their tournament later in the year. So
Because we know there's Engen, we know there's Pirates, we know
Sure.
there's VW, but
there's
now
still
this
a
new
big
kid,
corporate,
yeah.
so, with that,
And with that being said, sorry to cut you there. They're an NGO, right?
yeah,
They are an NGO, so they don't want to compete with Engen, and then they just want to build something positive
Sure.
around teams that are overlooked and make them look forward to something,
Yeah, no doubt. And then, like I say, with this tournament in October, I'm looking forward to, seeing what it is all about, because, it is one thing to speak and, share your visions and share your aspirations, but, we also need them to be successful in, practical. So,
yeah.
again, just touching on this
Because on
tournament.
paper it's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But with this tournament, so what they've done, or what they're looking to do in this inaugural tournament, is that they've extended it to 8 teams, so it's an invitational tournament.
Oh, that's nice.
And,
Because just like we said earlier on this part, JVW, Sundowns,
Sure.
TUT,
Sure.
Tuts. So it's always the
But-
same names every single
No
tournament.
doubt.
So it will
But
be
who
very
knows?
interesting.
Maybe
Maybe
those teams are there. Who knows? So the thing
I
is,
guess.
with that, she had mentioned that, like I say, in the research that I have done, she did mention that with this tournament there would be prizes, much like any other tournament,
Individual
that
prizes,
exactly,
club
that
prizes.
financial award. But even in that, every team will walk away
with something.
And being it that it is invitational, they are looking to tailor prizes for
Specifically
the
for
teams.
the team.
Yeah, so ultimately their slogan or their motto is opportunity meets purpose, and I think with this approach that they are taking and what they are putting together, I'm excited to see it.
Same.
And
I can't wait.
yeah.
Because they've been doing drives also, the sports bar drive, so it's all leading up to this specific event, like it's not that they only focusing on the events, but they also looking at other things where they can help,
Sure. No, and I think it's brilliant, and like I say, it's funny how things work. We just covered it in the previous episode, and now we have an organization that
Who's like,
is
I'm here,
strategically
pick me.
exactly. So just with that, and I think to close off this episode, we've touched on the WAFCON coming this July. We've touched on our youth, not only, is it youth month, but our youth are there in Morocco. They say, we're ready to represent. And then, I think our call to action for you guys is support, follow women's football, and let's get behind Banyana and the rest of women in football and women in sports.
Because like what I noticed, I think we were talking, last week, not a lot of people know where to get women's football games or when Banyana is going to camp, because not everything is hyped when it comes to those things. But I think we need to tell people where they can catch Banyana games so that they follow from club level, not just watch Banyana. You must know where your favorite player is playing and their team and stuff like that. So I think with Hollywood-based games, you can catch them sometimes on SABC One or SABC Sports, right? Weekends, usually Sundays, right? So yeah, that's where you can catch all the women's football games, and also just follow their social medias because they do post when matches are happening and things like that. So that's just the start.
Yeah, and I think from us at Counter Press, where we have conversations that count, we are out.